Hello everyone, my name is Stella Widjaja and I'm from International class of Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Airlangga. Today I would like to talk about the role of ontology in the distribution of COVID-19 vaccine. And I called my project Behind COVID-19 Vaccines. This is the content outline. As we all know, the world is currently in the middle of a pandemic. It all started in December 2019 when the disease started spreading in Wuhan, China. And by 2020, the whole world was already in a lockdown. We started to practice social distancing, wearing masks, sanitizing our hands, and other safety protocols. In Indonesia, the government decided to close down public facilities such as school and workplaces, and they also limited religious activities and any other activities that could potentially draw crowds on March 2020. And yet, for a few months, even after the government has reminded people to practice social distancing, the number of COVID-19 patients continued to increase. As of 14 May 2021, there have been 1,734,285 confirmed cases and 47,823 deaths in Indonesia. However, the number of vaccinated people is also steadily increasing. As of 14 May 2021, 13,699,393 people have been vaccinated at least once. But it is still very far from the targeted number of 181 million. Perhaps you all know that vaccines serve as a defense or protection to us, but not everyone knows this fact. In fact, when the vaccine was first announced to have arrived in our land or are on their way to Indonesia, some people refuse vaccination, and to this day, there are still people who do not believe in vaccination. In fact, according to a survey done by Saiful Mujani Research and Consulting in March 2021, only 64% of people believed in vaccine and are willing to take it. This is below the target of 70% to achieve herd immunity and effectively stop the spread of COVID-19. So herd immunity happens when there are a lot of people who are vaccinated. So even if there are people who are infected within a certain group of people, the virus is contained. It cannot spread because, everyone is already vaccinated. The philosophy of science, according to Kitcher in 2019, is the study from a philosophical perspective of the elements of scientific inquiry. It involves metaphysical, epistemological, and ethical issues related to the practice and aims of modern science. Metaphysics is equal to ontology. It is the study of the state of being, becoming, and existing. It is formulated in the question what. Epistemology is the study of knowledge and scope of knowledge, or how, while ethics or theology is the study of value. I'd like to talk more about ontology as our topic here. Ontology has 4 branches. It is the study of what we or others are committed to. It is the study of what there is, the study of the most general features and how things are related to each other, and the study of with what methodology what there is can be answered. This is according to Hofweber in 2021. In order to look at COVID-19 and vaccination from an ontological aspect, these are the questions that I have formulated. First, what is COVID-19? What is SARS-CoV-2? What is vaccine? What is the COVID-19 vaccine? And what is the role of ontology in COVID-19 vaccine distribution? The objectives and benefits of the study are as the following. First is to define COVID-19 and its vaccination ontologically, and to show the importance of ontology in the distribution of vaccine. So first, we need to describe about philosophy. Philosophy is an existential science that is very closely intertwined with daily life. It comes from the Greek words philein or love and sophia or wisdom. So it means love of wisdom. It has 5 branches, which is the epistemology, metaphysics, logic, ethic, and aesthetics. Thinking philosophically means that you think freely, rationally, essentially, abstract, radical, holistically, continuously, with inquiry, with being questioning, analytical, deconstructive, speculative, inventive, and systematically. Science, according to Arhar, is a collection of well-tested theories which explains the patterns, regularities, and irregularities among carefully studied phenomena. So, what is the philosophy of science? The philosophy of science is usually described to have 3 branches: ontology, epistemology, and axiology. So, what do we want to know? How do we acquire knowledge? And what is the value of knowledge for us? What is SARS-CoV-2? SARS-CoV-2 is actually the virus that causes the COVID-19 disease. It is not the disease itself. SARS-CoV-2 is an enveloped, non-segmented, positive sense RNA virus that is broadly distributed in humans and other mammals. Its diameter is about 65 until 125 nanometers. It contains single-stranded RNA and crown-like spikes on the outer surface, explaining the name corona or crown virus. SARS-CoV-2 is a beta coronavirus. Other viruses included in this family would be SARS-CoV and MERS-CoV, both of which lead to pulmonary failure and respiratory tract infection, just like SARS-CoV-2. SARS-CoV-2 has 4 main structural proteins, including spike glycoprotein, small envelope glycoprotein, membrane glycoprotein, and nucleocapsid protein, and several accessory proteins. S protein facilitates the binding of enveloped viruses to host cells by attraction with ACE2, which is expressed in lower respiratory tract cells. The N protein is involved in the viral replication cycle and other processes related to the viral RNA. The M protein helps stabilize N proteins and promotes completion of viral assembly, while E protein plays a role in the production and maturation of the virus. COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a new coronavirus called SARS-CoV-2. The most common symptoms of COVID-19 are fever, dry cough, and fatigue. But there may be other less common symptoms such as loss of taste or smell, nasal congestion, conjunctivitis, sore throat, headache, muscle or joint pain, skin rash, nausea, diarrhea, and chills. And if severe, symptoms such as shortness of breath, loss of appetite, confusion, persistent pressure in the chest, and high temperature may develop in the patient. Vaccine is a biological preparation that protects our body against harmful diseases. So actually, in order to fight a virus, the aid of vaccines is very helpful. When viruses invade our body cells, they gain the ability to multiply, and this infection or disinfection causes illness. Our immune system will then mobilize various cells to fight the infection. However, this process needs several days and even weeks to happen. And then, after the infection, a person's immune system remembers what it learned. These are left in memory cells. If the same virus were to vaccinate again, our memory cells would be able to protect us at a faster rate. Vaccines are able to trigger the release of our immune cells without bringing us harm. Our immune system will be able to have memory cells without endangering ourselves. Thus, if we were to ever get infected by a virus, we wouldn't have a hard time dealing with it. There are currently 3 types of vaccine that are being recommended by the CDC. So it's the mRNA vaccine, protein subunit vaccine, and vector vaccine. mRNA vaccine uses genetically engineered mRNA to give our cells instructions to make the S protein found on the surface of SARS-CoV-2. This foreign protein causes our immune cells to create antibodies against them. After the mRNA helps make this protein pieces, mRNA is immediately broken down. Subunit vaccine contain fragments of protein and/or polysaccharide of a pathogen, which are carefully studied. From the data gained, scientists synthesize a combination of molecules that are likely to produce a strong immune response. Once vaccinated, our body will recognize the protein or the polysaccharide of the virus and fight against it. Vector vaccine has genetic material from the SARS-CoV-2 inserted into a different kind of weakened live virus. The weakened virus, or the viral vector, serves the purpose of delivering the genetic material into our cells. Once the vector reaches our cells, it gives instructions for making S protein. There are 7 vaccines that will be distributed or are already distributed in Indonesia. The Oxford AstraZeneca is a vector vaccine. Sinopharm is an inactivated vaccine, which means that the weakened coronavirus is in this vaccine. Moderna is mRNA vaccine, Novavax protein subunit vaccine, Xever-BioNTech mRNA vaccine, Sinovac inactivated vaccine, and there's the PT Biopharma vaccine. So, by studying past works and papers about the relationship between philosophy and science, the author is able to have an image on the relationship between ontology and vaccination. The author was able to see the correlation from the various new headlines regarding people's distrust in government and the COVID-19 vaccine with real daily life occurrences. Thus, by doing this project, the author hopes to bring real change to the people's mindset regarding vaccine. So in fact, 35% of people will share news right after seeing the headline without much thought. And since they don't think much, of course, they don't really apply philosophical thinking when they share news, even though this might be fake news. This is also why fake information spreads very easily. But what if people know the ontology of COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2, and vaccines? First of all, people will be able to stop the spread of false information, because if people were to know about what is COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2, and vaccines, even if there are surprising headlines, they will be able to doubt those headlines. They will be able to stop before spreading, and they will think, this is not what I know. This is false. This is not the information that I know. So they will be able to stop the spread of false information. And then they will also be able to increase the spread of true and factual information, because again, they already know about what these are, so they will be able to educate more people about it. And then, since there will be more people who are educated about vaccines, who know that there is no harm in vaccines, there will be more people who trust the vaccine. With more people who trust and are willing to be vaccinated, herd immunity can be achieved and the virus will be contained. These are my recommendations for all stakeholders. That is all for my presentation. Thank you very much, and I'm sorry if there were shortcomings in my presentation.